All right, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about this movie called Io, and I'm also going to make a few connections between Freemasonry, Kabbalah, the occult. They give us a surface level exoteric movie, for example, but then underneath there's an esoteric Kabbalistic meaning to the entire thing. And we're going to look at this title as well, Io. What does that really mean? But first of all, we'll do a quick transvestigation. This one here, obviously a male to female. And this one actually has a very famous mother. Maybe you can tell already, kind of resembles the person a bit. Maybe there's some kind of relation. You can see by the bone structure, the shoulders, the rib cage, shoulder to hip ratio there makes it pretty clear. Long, gangly arms. Pyramid symbol, Masonic symbols on the hands on the hip to cover up the shoulder to hip ratio. And now there's the famous mother in the middle, Andy. That's Andy in the middle with the two trans children. Like father, like son. And this movie also talks about the breeding program a little bit as well. Large skull overall with the small nose, right? So it's kind of out of proportion. It's a man with makeup who's undergone the feminization process, all right? Someone who's dedicated their life to masonry. You know, everything's just completely fake about this person, except for the male bone structure is very real. Often considered to be one of the most beautiful women in the world. Ironically enough, it's a man. Lexus, the L, the pyramid, right? The triangle. We've got the dual triangle hand on the hip action going on. See that M hand sign they got going on, right? You see that all the time. The two fingers together and then the others flaring out there. Look at that arm and doing the old hand sign as well, right? So not only putting the hand on the hips to conceal the bone structure, but to make Masonic signs with the fingers. It's a new woman. That's the new woman, according to the world. Sex, lies, and videotape with Andy. And there's the family, all in the family. Andy's secrets. Well, we know what your secret is now, and you're part of the secret societies. Now, this is a book called The Symbolism of Freemasonry, illustrating and explaining its science and philosophy, its legends, myths, and symbols by Albert Mackey, 1869. All right, chapter 24, The Ineffable Name, the Tetragrammaton. So basically they pronounce the name I-H-O-H, or in other words would be I-O, right? I, and this is kind of a silent H, I-O. And then they say, well, there's no such word in Hebrew as I-O. So it's fair to conclude that this was not the original pronunciation. We must look for another, which will give meaning to the word. In the Kabbalah, the hidden meaning is often deduced from a word by transposing or reversing its letters. And it was in this way that the Kabbalists concealed many of their mysteries. When he found that I-O being read reversely makes the word ho-hi. I don't know how they would pronounce this. But basically they're saying this. They're saying that I-O is the name of God. And then check this out. They say it's the androgynous meaning. But in Hebrew, ho is the masculine pronoun equivalent to the English he. And hi is the feminine pronoun equivalent to she. Well, there you go. He, she. God's a she-male according to the Freemasons. All right, here it is. He, she. That is to say, the ineffable name of God in Hebrew being read Kabbalistically or backwards includes within itself the male and female principle. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he, him. Male and female created he, them. Plural pronoun. They could not have been in the image of I-O if they had not been male and female. Well, there it is right there, okay? So I-O is the androgyne. Represents the number 10. 10 represents X in Roman numerals, right? So X is Io, X is the androgyne sign. We've seen this symbol X all over the place, X factor. It also represents the cross, which is a androgynous symbol as well. So we've got the X factor, the X files. There's the two male and the female together. There's the one eye, the single eye. So Io means X, and we see that Io is the androgyne sign, and we see X being used as the gender-neutral marker on official government documents. All right, so this cross is gender-neutral sign, the male and the female lines coming together at one point. All right, so say hello to the future. It's an androgynous future. All right, Pearl Jam's first album called 10. Why was it called 10? Because 10 is Io. So they could have called it the Divine Androgyne, all right? That's what their first album means. And the Vesica Piscis, another androgynous sign, two circles coming together into one. Another album cover full of Masonic symbolism, the singular eye, and you see the same sign on corporate logos. Now, what could this possibly be? An avocado. It's the cosmic egg, all right? And maybe I'll talk about that at another time. So Pearl Jam canceled a bunch of concerts to protest the anti-transgender bathroom bills. Why? Because they are pushing the androgynous agenda. Dedicate song to LGBT soldiers in battle against trans bathroom laws, all right? Why could that possibly be? Well, maybe because of his giant Nephilim transgendered wife doing Masonic hand signs with a hand. Once again, we see the rock star being dwarfed by the transmutated wife. It's an X-Man, and they're just laughing at us. There he is getting a Pearl Jam sandwich with the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park. Veteran in the middle of the Pearl Jam trans sandwich. Now, some people believe this entire band is trans, and they certainly could be. Something strange about these guys, and doing the old whiskey bottle phallic symbol, and the guy on the right doing the old two fingers pointing down. T-shirt, The Plasmatics, Wendy Williams, no transvestigation needed, and you got the lightning bolts, you got the crescent moon, you got the cross, you got the one eye. Now, Manly P. Hall, Masonic writer from Esoteric Alchemy, says, in Hermeticism, we begin to sense the beginning of the transmutation of man as the essential purpose of the alchemical procedure. X-Men Apocalypse, bit of transmutation going on here with the mutants, all right? And there's the Dark Phoenix rising. We'll talk about that soon. Lady Sansa, all grown up as the Dark Phoenix Androgyne with superpowers. The New Mutants are coming on 8/2/19, 10. 10. What comes between 9 and 11? 10. What is 10? 10's the X, 10's the Io, 10 is the androgyne, all right? So you got the two towers, male and the female, and now you got the one tower, one World Trade Center. 2 into 1. And even in that word 1, the O, you have a line in the middle of the O, which represents the letter I, and the O is an O. So you have I-O right there in that one letter. 9/11 really relates to the 10. 10 is X. X is androgyne. 9/11, and it's also the symbol of Saturn, all right? Now here's a little thing, IXI, found on an album cover, all right? So let's take a look. You got 9 and 11, right? You got 9 on the left, and you got XI, 11 on the right, but you got X in the middle. The androgyne. That's what it's all about. And what could the rest of the album cover possibly look like? Saturn. Telling you right there. All right, so the Pixies know what's going on. And there's the singer for the Pixies. Doing the old one-eyed symbolism. And he's another one of these pudgy, short-armed guitar players. How does he play guitar with those short arms? That's my question. What's going on with the Pixies? Well, what are you trying to tell us there with that sign? You're giving us a little clue, perhaps. You're pointing at us, laughing at us, pointing at the Adam's-appled female member. What's going on? Io. So it's all about the Io. It's all about the androgyne sign. The 1 and the 0, the binary, combined into unity. All right, so this is the Index to the Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Io. Colony to be founded by Io, descendant of Moon and Moon goddess of generation, mother and symbol of physical humanity, mother of God. Oh, I thought that was Mary, mother of God. What's going on? It's Io, mother of God, apparently. Pillar and circle of Pythagoras, race of. So no wonder this movie is about people going to Io. So here's the movie. So they went to a colony on Io, because they had to leave Earth. And this guy starts reading this book, Exodus, but it's really not Exodus, but it's their version of the Exodus. So he gives a speech kind of out of nowhere, right? So ancient is the desire for one another, which is implanted in us, reuniting our original nature. seeking to make one of two, and healing the state of man, because we're in a fallen state, all right? So he's quoting from Plato, Plato's Symposium, and I've mentioned that before here on my channel. Humans originally had two faces. Well, it sounds like something you would see on a Judaism website, perhaps. 4 arms, 4 legs. And they were happy like that. They were happy. They were complete, because we are not. We're incomplete. Well, they defied the gods, so the gods split us in two as punishment. That was the fall of man. All right, the creation of Eve was the fall of man. Human nature was once originally one, and we were whole. So we got this movie, Io, talking about the Androgynes. The same exact story is used in this movie, Hedwig and the Angry Inch, about a transgendered rock singer. All right. So here's the actual symposium. I'll just read a short paragraph here. In the first place, let me treat of the nature of man and what has happened to it. For the original human nature was not like the present, but different. And in fact, the New World Order will be different, according to George H.W. Bush. The sexes were not 2 as they are now, but originally 3 in number. There was man, woman, and the union of the two, having a name corresponding to this double nature, which had once a real existence but is now lost. Well, they're in Hollywood now, and the word androgynous is only preserved as a term of reproach. All right, so they kind of hint at this in the movie, but they don't come right out and say that humans were androgynous, but they use terms like one and connected. If you pay attention, you'll catch it. Manly P. Hall says, here Plato is concealing a mystery, as he did in his account of Atlantis. The sun which formed the males is the symbol of spirit, and also of the gods or divinities who move through the agency of the solar power. The earth, which formed the females, is the symbol of matter and of mankind, the negative creation, the matrix, etc. The moon, which formed the androgynes, as partaking of both, represents the soul or mind, the spiritual androgyne. The middle race, the heroes or demigods who partake of both qualities, and again of the initiates, the self-born, of whom the androgynous phoenix is the esoteric symbol. I'll stop there. All right, then the movie continues, and there's another kind of bizarre scene out of nowhere where this, now it's a female character, she played by a male, of course, but explains some tattoos. Symbols on the left represent all possible strings of molecules, and symbols on the right represent selection pressures and fitness ratings, right? Masons love their symbols, right? Basically, that just means all that's necessary for life to emerge are molecules subject to forces of selection and mutation, transmutation. If those conditions are met, self-replication emerges, all right? Self-replication, asexual reproduction. People can change, all right? So this movie is talking about an androgynous race who can reproduce by themselves, all right? And that's a core Masonic belief. What about the markings on your rib cage, all right? Another bizarre line, right? It's like, what are you talking about? Out of nowhere. It's nothing. It's just something we do as part of our research. So here, I think they're telling us about their transgendered surgeries. We do it to build up our immunity, all right? So that's coded language for we do it to become androgynous demigods. Does it hurt? Not that bad, right? So they know what's going on. They're talking about transforming the human race into androgynous entities. So they say that Io is a moon of Jupiter, and of course, none of these are real actual photos. Now, Jupiter, of course, means Zeus. So Io has a special relationship to Zeus. Another totally bizarre scene. They go in like this museum looking at paintings and statues of gods and goddesses. Leda was related to the gods, and the swan is Zeus. Zeus in disguise. So Io is the female component of Zeus, or the mother, and gave birth to a race of androgynes. Io is the divine mother. But at the same time, Io is the divine androgyne who can create androgynous children. Tell them a new world awaits us. And she says this, as a child emerges in the background out of the mist, And who's the father? Well, that guy is not the father. All right, spoiler alert. Self-reproducing androgynes, Io. 10, the androgyne, Andy McDowell, the whole thing. All right, this explains everything. Io is the moon, and at the same time, the eve of a new race. Points to the last of the mysteries of cyclic transformations, in the series of which mankind, having passed from the ethereal to the solid physical state, from spiritual to physiological procreation, is now carried onward of the opposite arc of the cycle toward that second phase of its primitive state when woman knew no man and human progeny was created, not begotten. That state will return to it and to the world at large, when the latter shall discover and really appreciate the truths which underlie this vast problem of sex. It will be like the light that never shone on sea or land, and has to come to men through the Theosophical Society. That light will lead on and up to the true spiritual intuition. Then, as expressed once in a letter to a theosophist, the world will have a race of Buddhas and Christs. For the world will have discovered that individuals have it in their own powers to procreate Buddha-like children, or demons. It says right there, demons. When that knowledge comes, all dogmatic religions, and with these the demons, will die out. Because the serpent of wisdom, the unity of spiritual and physical powers, will have begotten in time Kronos, Saturn, a progeny Dionysus, Bacchus, or the dark Epaphos, the mighty one, men of renown, the gods, the race that will overthrow him. Where will he be born? Prometheus traces him to his origin and birthplace in his prophecy to Io. Io is the moon goddess of generation, for she is Isis, and she is Eve, perhaps even Lilith, Inanna, Wonder Woman, Venus, the Great Mother, Mother Mary, kingly race born in Argos, the female generative power symbolized in the moon, the Navi-formed Arga of the mysteries, meaning the Queen of Heaven, the Queen of Heaven. Io signified the moon, while esotericism explains it as the divine androgyne, or the mystic Io. There it is right there, the Io. The name of this movie is the divine androgyne. That's what I'm saying. All right, I'm not making this stuff up. In Hebrew, 10 is the perfect number, or Yehovah. There, Io was ordained to found a colony for herself and sons. All right, that's what this movie's about. Humanity had to go to Io. This movie's about humanity turning into a race of androgynes. All right. I will conclude with this quote from Manly P. Hall's Man, the Grand Symbol. It says, according to the secret doctrine, which is Blavatsky, humanity will, in the course of countless ages, again become male-female, achieving through evolution the potential equilibrium which has been within it since the beginning. Writing in the 13th century, this guy here held among what Jennings termed other fanciful notions that at the end of the world, both sexes would be reunited in the same person. Okay, well, thanks for watching.